You're listening to the 10 Bagger Podcast, presented by The Daily Gold. Join us as we uncover tomorrow's 10 baggers today. And now here's your host, Jordan Roy-Byrne.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 10 Bagger Podcast. Today we have episode number 19, and I have a very interesting guest. His name is Mariusz Skonieczny. He is the founder of Classic Value Investors and Microcap Explosions, which is his newsletter. And Mariusz is very interesting. He's written a number of books, including one about the gold mining and exploration business. You can get that at goldminingbook.com. It's a great book, very informative and educational. And he's had a lot of failures investing in his sector, but he owes one of his biggest successes to a junior mining company. So it's very interesting to me. Mariusz, thanks so much for coming on. How are you doing today?
Oh, very good. Thanks for having me.
So let's get started with how you, first let's get started with the type of investor you are, and then how you came to start looking at opportunities in junior mining.
Okay, so I consider myself a value investor or a business investor. In other words, whatever I invest in, stocks are just not pieces of paper or electronic ticker symbols. There's something behind them. And so I will go into any sector, look at anything, as long as whatever I'm paying is less than what I'm getting back. Or I will buy certain things that might not today be worth what I'm paying for, but as long as I think they're going to be worth more in the future, then I will go for this. And to answer your question, how I got into the mining sector is, so I started Classic Value Investors in 2009, like literally January 1st, 2009, when the world was falling apart, and I thought it was a good time to be contrarian and enter the market, like seriously. And I did. And for the first 3 years, 2009, 2010, and most of 2011, I was just investing in, regular companies. And then I discovered, or I started studying macroeconomics, monetary history, gold, Austrian economics, and I realized the predicament that the Fed was in, kind of like what people in the crypto are talking about right now, actually, with the money printing, the QE, they can't stop that, and all this. And of course, this led me to gold, studying silver, studying how these metals would protect us from the inflation and from the reckless money printing. And of course, this led me to gold mining and silver mining, because they are the leverage plays on such circumstances. So that's really how it started.
So then, so you got into the leverage plays, and I know you have some critical commentary on the sector, and I guess one, and I'm going to push back on you a couple times here, but I guess one, could you at least see that the time you got involved, assuming it wasn't, if it was after 2009, 2010, we had this devastating bear market in the sector. So how much does that, do you think, how much does that matter in your investing, like the macro big picture view? And can you at least admit that if you got involved in the sector, correct me if I'm wrong, but at a time when we were at the start of a bear market, and this is just a sector where if there's a bear market, like you really just can't make money.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it's true. But it's a convenient excuse, because I created a video series, 10 or 12 videos talking about why I hate the mining stocks. And I featured 10 different companies in this video series. And I put it in a way that I played what these companies or these CEOs were promising and what they delivered. And of course, the bear market played a part, but to a degree. For example, one particular company, Gold Group Mining, they had 3 assets. One was producing and 2 were about to be put into production. And the production profile was going to go from 20,000 ounces per year to about 250,000 ounces per year. And what ended up happening is that their production pretty much went to zero, and they didn't put anything into production. One property, San Jose de Gracia, was stolen from them by a partner. So this has nothing to do with the price of gold going down. So in other words, Gold Group gave Dyna Resource about $18 million to drill out the property. They found 1 million ounces in San Jose de Gracia. And then at some point, the other party decided just to steal that property away from them, taking the $18 million because the contract wasn't written correctly. Then the second property, which was Caballo Blanco, it was just on the way to be put into production, and they didn't get a permit to put it into production. And then the governor that was in charge of giving them the permit and stuff like that ended up going to jail because he was caught with carrying a briefcase full of money, and he would have given them a permit, from what I understand, if they gave him $10 million bribe. So this example has nothing to do with the bear market. It has everything to do with how terrible this business is. And another example is a company out of Malaysia, Monument Mining. They were producing about 40,000 ounces of gold at a cash cost of about $300 per ounce. So it didn't really matter that the price of gold declined from the high of about 1,900 to 1,100 or almost 1,000. They were still printing money, and they still managed to destroy about 95% of shareholders' value during that time. So it's a nice excuse to say, yes, you can make money in this sector when the cycle is right and the price of gold or silver is going up, but it's just an excuse. I have no doubt that the majority of these companies will figure out a way to screw things up, and only a few will deliver exceptional performance to the shareholders.
Now, so you did a video series on 10 or 12 companies. Did you invest in all of those companies?
Yes. Yes, I did.
And so, okay, so I want you to talk about your huge success with Oroco. And I guess my first question about that, I mean, doesn't that tell you that stock picking in the sector is extremely important, and that maybe when you first got into the sector, stock picking or company selection was an issue, and then, you took your lumps and you got to the point where you were able to find something that's turned out to be a massive, massive success. I mean, is the issue for you that this is a very tough industry and there's few winners like Oroco, and so is that the issue for you, that just the odds of success are really low?
Yeah, the odds of success are very low. What you need is you need a decent project. You need a decent project, and you need decent management. And even if the management is fantastic, if they have a problematic asset like Midway Gold used to be like that, the management was fantastic, experience from I don't know if it was Newmont or Barrick, I don't remember, but every analyst was talking about Midway Gold and all the names, all the Sprats of the world, everybody was invested in that, and it went to zero because the feasibility studies were saying that we have this kind of grade, and it turned out to be much lower. So it's tough. You need to pick the right companies. You need to have luck, and you need to have the right management doing the right things, and you need to have you probably need to be in a bull market too.
Okay, so enough about the School of Hard Knocks. Let's talk about this massive success that you've had. So take us through how you find Oroco, and give us a timeline. What year was that, and what the company has achieved, and all of that.
Okay, so the way I found Oroco was because I was involved in the company that I mentioned, Gold Group Mining, and Gold Group Mining and Oroco shared the same office. And Gold Group bought a property from Oroco because it ran out of gold in the other property that was producing 20,000 ounces, so they needed another one. So they bought a property from Oroco. That's how I discovered Oroco. And so what I was doing is, because they were sharing the same office, on a regular basis, I would call up Oroco. I established a relationship, and I would kind of chat with Oroco about Gold Group Mining, because Oroco also had shares in Gold Group, because when they sell the property to Gold Group, they got some shares in return. So every month or so, I would call them up and just kind of get some information about Gold Group. And over time, I learned more and more about Oroco. And during one particular conversation, the guy told me that they were involved in some kind of copper property, but there was not much said other than, there's this potential, we have something, and that the property could be big, and that's it. And one time I noticed that the CEO of Oroco was buying shares, and it was about 3 cents. That was 2017. I think it was like August 2017, something like that. So that caught my interest, and I started Googling and researching, and I came across this website, Santa Tomas Copper Project.com or something like that. And all of the paperwork from the legal battle were listed on the website as a way to show to the world or give notice to the world that this particular property is in this legal battle. And on that website, there was a paragraph that said that Xochipala Gold, which was an entity that was associated, that I remember, that was associated with Oroco, because Oroco had a property called Xochipala. And then I saw this Xochipala Gold entity listed on the website as the owner of Santa Tomas. And I started researching more and more, and I realized that this project was absolutely massive, and it was very well known. And then I confirmed with the company, and that's when I started to connect the dots that they were involved in Santa Tomas. And I started seriously studying all the legal documents, reading them all, and understanding what the legal battle was all about. And then through my research, I realized that there was no way that they were going to lose it. It was already won, that the market wasn't realizing that it was already won. So the moment I realized this, I pretty much, bought as many shares as I could possibly buy. And that's how I got in.
So where was this investment in relation to the 10 or 12 losers, for lack of a better term? Was this after the fact, or is this kind of in between?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking 2017, right? So the bear market in the sector started 2012, 2011. So this was already after most of these other companies went the way they went, downhill. But even after 2017, some of these losers lost even more.
So what was the first year that you bought shares in Oroco and the lowest price?
2017, like August, October, something like that. That's when it was at 4 cents.
Okay, and the stock today is trading at
over $3. So one more buck, and it will be 100 bagger for me. Because when I bought at 4 cents, I pretty much bought my entire position around that level.
So I guess I'm just fascinated by the fact that you really, by that point, you've probably decided you hate miners, but this is too good of an opportunity to pass up.
Yeah, but at that point, I didn't really have the hate yet for the miners. Like, I took my position, and then, only recently, last year and a half or so, I came to this realization that, this is a terrible sector to be in, and Oroco is my last one. I will never touch another mining stock after that.
So even as you're making, life-changing gains with this stock in this junior mining sector, at the same time, your own psychology with the sector is plummeting, it sounds like.
Yeah, and the situation with Gold Group it's more than just one component. It has a component of skill, being at the right place for copper, and for the development of the lawsuit and development of the company itself, and also luck. So I'm not going to take my wins and plug it back into the sector, hoping that I would get another one like this. Many times I said in my videos, there will never be another Oroco. And I say that, and I mean it, because if you look at the situation, the stock went from 4 cents when I got involved, but it was as low as 1.5 cents. And now it's at $3, right? And the market cap went from like 2 million to now we're sitting at like 600 million or 500 million. And if you think about it, nothing has been done to the property, which means that whatever I saw back then is still here today. They didn't drill a single hole yet. All they did is finance themselves, and they did some studies. They did some 3D IP, and which shows the size of it, but they didn't put a single hole yet. So what's so special about it is that usually in order for you to get such huge wins in these companies, you have some property that's, promising, and then you hit a good hole and it goes up. Well, here, when I got involved, the property was already drilled out. It already had 93 holes. It already had a historical resource that had over $1 billion net present value. The metallurgy was already done. It used to have a pre-feasibility study, and the only reason why it was priced the way it was priced, it was because it was taken off the public market, and it was in a legal battle for 20 years because an individual that owned it sold it to someone that stole the property from him, and then it took about 10 years to get the property back. But not a single hole was drilled. So when I looked at it at 4 cents, $3 million market cap, I said, this thing is a $5 stock and a 500 million market cap, like at that point. And hopefully soon they're going to start drilling the property, and it will be evident that this property is even bigger than what I thought it was in 2017.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, this has been a 7-figure win for you. So why not just take a small portion of that and look for other junior miners with, that kind of potential? Is it just like a opportunity cost in terms of time, or you're only focused on Oroco at this point?
Well, two reasons. One is I participated myself because I run a website, as you said, Microcap Explosions, and Microcap Explosions, we are a group of about 200 people, and we were instrumental in financing Oroco to where it is today. As a group, we participated in 2 private placements, and we raised about $13 million for the company. One private placement was in September. The second one was in December. And I participated in the private placement. And as a result of this, I sold some shares, the freely traded shares, in order to be able to finance my way into the private placement. And as a result of this, most of my shares are locked. And because I'm in the United States, I have to wait 12 months for my shares to be freely traded. If you're outside of the United States, your lockup period is only 4 months. And yes, I could, for example, open an account with a Canadian broker like Haywood or Canaccord, but they rejected me because they said, we can't open an account for you because you have a YouTube channel, you have Microcap Explosions, so you can pump and dump stocks, and we don't want someone like that. So I said, fine, no problem. I'm patient. But for me, I have to wait 12 months before any of my shares become tradable. And then only at that point, I would be able to think about, hey, do I want to take some off the table and either buy other juniors or buy other things? And that brings me to the second part of your question is, no way am I going to buy juniors. Because on Microcap Explosions, we have about 12 current ideas. And there's 100 other opportunities that I would invest in before I would even think about looking at a junior. So I have plenty of places to put the money that has much better risk and reward profile than any junior mining can have.
Yeah, so let's talk about Microcap Explosions a little bit. Is there ever an issue with liquidity as far as getting into these stocks without pushing up the price?
Of course. But if you have if you think about owning a business, not owning a stock, like I own a house, right? Can I sell it in 5 minutes? No. Does it mean I shouldn't own it? No. I treat businesses the same way. Sometimes, depending on a company, it might take me 2 weeks to build a position. And I can't get out in 5 minutes, but I'm not here for 5 minutes. That's why I choose now very carefully which companies I want to get involved with. I want to get involved with fantastic businesses that have fantastic products, and they have real customers, and they are growing, but they're small. But as they grow bigger, the liquidity will increase. When I got involved with Oroco, it was very illiquid. When I was buying it, it was just me and the CEO was buying shares. Nobody else was in the room. And now it trades $3 million a day worth of money. And it has no problem. And that's really what happens with a lot of these small cap, micro cap stocks. You find them when they're small. You take your time to build a position. You patiently wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years for the story to develop. And when it's time to exit, they're 10 times bigger and the liquidity is no problem.
Okay, so, and I have another question or two about Microcap Explosions, and I want to finish with that. But before we get to that, I mean, what would your advice be to investors and speculators? I mean, given your experiences, towards investors and speculators in junior mining, like what guidance or advice can you give them on trying to find big winners? I mean, aside from your own advice that, don't invest in the sector and focus on other things.
Yeah, I don't say to other people, don't invest in the sector. I'm just saying I'm not going to touch it. But I know that people like the kind of upside that they can get from this sector. So that's why they're attracted to it. So my advice to them is educate yourself and don't be an idiot. Like, this is a risky business with low probability of success. Don't think that just because Rick Rule and Sprott and other famous investors are invested in these names that it's going to work out. No, educate yourself. As you mentioned, about my book. Read my book. It's $20. It's better to pay $20 than to lose $1 million. So I wrote 2 books: Gold Production from Beginning to End, and then How Gold Companies Finance Themselves. 2 books. So one is about how gold is produced, and one is about how these companies finance themselves. So educate yourself, and then realize that this is a risky business, and position your portfolio accordingly. Maybe you don't want to bet as much as you do, but so many people out there, especially now, they're listening about money printing and all this, and then they get into this sector, and then they listen to a bunch of interviews about the CEOs making projections. They're wearing a nice tie. They're educated. They're from Canada and all that. Don't let that fool you. It's still a risky business, and just realize that, and then go ahead and invest once you know all that and know all the odds.
Okay, so classic value investors. Tell our audience, I'm not saying you have to make a pitch, but just tell our audience a little bit about the service, and for those who are interested, what they would find there.
So 2 things. Classic Value Investors is just my public website, and it's free. I don't update it that much because I mostly focus on my YouTube channel, but you're probably referring to Microcap Explosions. So microcapexplosions.com. It's a private membership website where members pay a yearly fee of $1,500, and what they get is access to my portfolio. Pretty much the 12 or 10 positions that I hold, they have access to the write-up, so the investment thesis, regular updates, interviews with the CEOs, management on regular basis, a forum where members discuss the ideas with each other, and they also discuss other ideas that they might have in their portfolio that they want to share with others. Then you also get education, Value Investing University, which is a 10-hour video about value investing. It's included in it. And finally, from time to time, we participated as a group in various private placements. So as I said, with Oroco, we financed the company twice. So we did 2 private placements with Oroco. We did in total of 4. So 2 with Oroco. We did another company a few months ago. And then we just recently, about 2 weeks ago, did a 3rd company. So that sums it up.
Okay, and so before we close, thoughts on Oroco? I mean, how much higher can the stock go? What's the outlook for it over the next 6 to 12 months?
So I would say, based on where we are with the development, the next step is going to be drilling. I think that the moment they start drilling, the stock goes to $5. And I said that on my roadmap before. Then, depending on the results, it could go anywhere between, the buyout could be anywhere between $10 to $20 a share.
Okay, well, on that note, we have to leave it there, Mariusz. But hey, if Oroco does reach those levels and it becomes more than 100 bagger, I definitely want to have you back to talk about it. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yep, my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the 10 Bagger Podcast, presented by The Daily Gold. For premium coverage of precious metals and the best junior mining companies, visit thedailygold.com/premium.